Okay, hi.
Hello.
Could you tell us about some of the work you do, and could you give us your name, ma'am, Janelle?
Sure. I am Janelle Gray. I am a writer, or I guess easier said a creative, but I think a writer encompasses a lot of the things I do. I have an organization, a social justice human rights organization called Echoes Media. And that started after I wrote my first novel called Echoes of the Struggle, which is about really about the awakening of a Black woman to the movement that she's always been a part of, but like being able to see into the corners of the movement, of the civil rights movement that she's taken for granted. So it's a lot of history, but it's a fictional account um, of what that would feel like, what that awakening feels like, and kind of the relationships that are affected by that awakening. And so Echoes has been going on for 3.5 years. It is a podcast, a blog, and it is set up specifically to share different experiences so that we can foster understanding and empathy in a way that will end discrimination.
Respect you. Amazing work. Yo, plug yourself. Where can we find you?
You can find me on all of the social. Well, I say all of the social medias. Listen, I'm getting old. I'm getting old, so I'm realizing that I am not really the hip person anymore. But Facebook is at Echoes on Air. You could look up Echoes Media, but the tag is at Echoes on Air, which is the name of one of our podcasts. And then you can find us on Instagram and Twitter at Echoes Media One. Last but not least, you can get our website at www.echoesofthestruggle.com. We do have an app as well that can be downloaded to your phone, so you don't actually have to go to the website. You can click all the things in the app. So there's that.
Cool. Damn. Active blog and podcast, all of it together. It all fits.
Yeah.
Okay. Have you seen the video of George Floyd's murder?
No, I have not. Oddly, this is the one that I couldn't watch. So one of the things that I think always, I don't know that it's really surprising now that I keep saying it's surprising, but I don't know that it really surprises people. I have my bachelor's in communications, focusing specifically on journalism. And I've always, I think that's kind of where the blog and the podcast came out of my natural interest, even though I never intended to start something like that. When I was 15, I wanted to own my own magazine, kind of like Khadijah from Living Single. But I wanted to own my own magazine. And I'd been saying that from the time I was 15. And so I've always had this thing for news and journalism. And probably, really in the last 10 years, I was like, this is not the journalism I was taught in school. This is not it. Like, I remember being told to rewrite just titles of an article to make sure that I was unbiased, to make sure that I was presenting what was really happening. And so I've been really disgusted with the media over the past decade or so, because I don't know that that's the case on either side. I think it's kind of hard to be unbiased, which is why I respect real journalism a lot. And so I've really been disgusted with the media, but I have always felt like it was really important to watch the videos to find out for myself what I think happened, to be able to interpret for myself. Because I don't trust the media, I don't trust the media headlines, I don't trust the media stories, it's important for me to watch the videos. This is a very long way to get to my answer. So for that reason, I've watched all the videos that have come out before I say that particular person's name, before I jump on a bandwagon. I think it's important to see it. For some reason, I could not see this one. And I don't know why, because I don't know that it's any worse than any of the other people that we've watched on film. I don't know if it's because I watched Ahmaud Arbery's video, so quickly, like so recently before George Floyd. I don't know what that was. I do know I didn't watch. It took me a while to watch Ahmaud as well, and then I just refused with George. So, like I said, it's a long way to get to my answer, but for some reason, it's starting to feel like trauma porn in a way that I don't know that it's useful. Like, I feel like we walk this line. I don't know if it's useful to watch it, but it hurts me. I found that it hurts me just as deeply to know that it happened as it does to watch the video. So those are kind of my feelings around it. I can't even hear his voice. I don't even know who he is. And I have only heard clips of him saying, I can't breathe, or a clip of him saying mama. And like, I can't even hear the voice. Yeah, it's traumatizing even without seeing the video right now. It's kind of how I feel. So I answered questions you didn't ask.
Oh, thank you. That was great. That was all great. Follow up to that, could you elaborate on how you felt whenever you first heard about it then? Like what went through your mind? Tell us about it.
Nothing. Really, nothing went through my mind. And I think it's just because it just keeps happening. So it's like, and the thing is, again, with the media that is encouraging, but also frustrating, is that between the last big death that we saw, the last big murder that we saw, and now there have been several. We just don't know about them. And so like knowing that, I think what happens is then we become very focused. This is a complaint with the movement. I think we become very focused for like these three that were clustered that we found out together. And I think it's useful because it keeps hitting you and it makes people wake up. But the reason that I felt nothing is because I've been feeling this tired and angered in the in-between times. And I'm running out of emotions. Like I just don't have any more. So I think I would say nothing went through my mind immediately after that. It was more, it's always a very large amount of fear because I have a god brother who is like the gentlest dude. He's so funny, but Vinny's a doctor, or he's in med school. And so like, you know, I keep seeing these people who have these other lives, and knowing that that could be my brother is terrifying. You know, it could very easily be him walking because he's a tall dude. He's not an unassuming, like he's a very noticeable dude, but he's like the sweetest guy. So like knowing that he could be seen as a threat is the part that's terrifying. So yeah, I think nothing went through my mind at first, and then everything went through my mind.
I've heard some people say that there's a numbness that happens when it first happens. Like, well, there's another one.
Here we go. Yeah. And that's I think that's the danger of it right now, because it is a numbing thing, because it kind of like everybody's different. And so like, when do you come out of that? You know what I mean? Like when people go into surgery, right? And they have anesthesia, it takes everybody a different amount of time to come out of that. And so like, when do you come out of that? Is it too late? Is it effective? Like at that point, it's this numbing thing where it's like, also, do you want to come out of it? And I think that's a lot of what's happened to me, is like, sometimes it gets so heavy that you're like, I don't want to come out of being numb, because then I become ineffective. Like, am I effective if I am reduced to a ball of tears every time. You know what I mean? Like if I am reduced to fear and anguish and anxiety and anger, like is like a little bit of all those things are effective, but if I feel them on 100% all the time, what can I do? And so it's this kind of thing. It's like, okay, stiff upper lip. We gotta go to work. Like what to do, and to have to do that every single time is also exhausting.
Thank you so much for sharing. Would you like to take a break right now? Or would you like to keep going?
I feel like I look like, you know.
I think you look great, and I love all the truth you're speaking. And I'm just here to listen and witness.
Okay, sorry, I'm using you as a camera or as a.
No, let's go.
There we go. Cool.
All right. So I think jumping off of that numbness, there's a certain like other group to talk about and all the feelings that come from them too.
Yeah.
Could you tell us about how you feel seeing white people talk about this movement like it's new?
I thought I had an answer to this. And then again, with all the feelings. Child. I feel ignored, yo. Like, what do you mean this is new? Whoo, Lord. I thought I had answers, yo. I really did. I am appreciative of people who are willing to stand for what's right. And I'm being very careful here because I am trying something new, and that I am not thanking people for things that are the bare minimum. So I am appreciating. So I'm not going to thank white people for joining. I am appreciating that it is happening, and I am recognizing that it is happening. I also recognize that everybody comes to their awakening when it's their time, right? So I will say that my father posted a picture saying growing up gray. Yesterday, we went to one of the protests in Richardson. And the way I grew up was I am a child of divorce. So I grew up in two very different households, in my opinion. On my father's side, my father was significantly more of what people would consider radical. I was very much raised to go to Black-owned businesses. I was very much raised to read books about Black people. None of this was new to me. And it was a very conscious effort on his part, even though we grew up in Grand Prairie that was not very Black, to make sure that we went to the neighborhood where my grandmother still lived that was Black. And still, with that upbringing, I feel like I've always had things to say and knowledge about the civil rights movement. But in terms of my activism, I don't believe that started until just pre or post Trayvon. So I say that to say that I get actually it was probably about 2010. I think Trayvon is 12. So like just before, but I say that to say I get that everybody comes to whatever their awakening is in their own time. But I think there is a danger in saying this is the new movement and that it's not. It's the same movement. Like a lot of people are asking for the same things because, in my opinion, slavery didn't stop. We just stopped calling it slavery. So they were still finding ways for us to be enslaved. in different ways. It's just they could not technically own us, but the things, the access to the things that would give us freedom and the whole pursuit of happiness and all of the cute, fluffy things that were really meant for white men, they still hold access to that. And so, like, the awakening to that, I think, is different. The danger is calling it new. So if you want to say, I just showed up, or I'm just now realizing, or I'm joining, that's great. But you're not a part of a new movement. This is the same old movement that's been wanting the same old things for the same old thousands of years that you just got touched by. And so, yeah, I get frustrated with that. I get frustrated with white people who are trying to lead. The I mean, this is of any group in terms of leading. You can't really lead without ever having been in the back, I believe. So, like, you have to learn to follow first before you take a lead. And there are a lot of white people who are kind of coming in to, like, yes, you're right, you do need white people. And it's like, no, we don't need heroes, we need allies. And so what that means is you join. You don't come in and save, you don't come in and lead. This isn't new. We know what's been going on. You're new. So sit down, listen, and then ask when you can join, like where you can join. You know what I mean? It's not, and I think that is something that's very difficult. My mom has said this a couple of times, is that a lot of white people aren't used to looking to Black people for guidance or leadership, or positions of power. And so, and we know that. We know that every time you walk into a store and assume that we work there, as opposed to we're the manager. We know that, and in any time where somebody, like, I think in our conversation earlier, they're running an event and you ask them for the person who's running for the event, right? Like, we know that because we've also watched you walk directly up to white people and say, are you the one in charge? You ask that question first. You don't ever ask the question, are you the one in charge, to the Black person first. You ask who's in charge, and then you talk to them. Like, we know that, we see that, we know that you're not used to that. So for the people who are saying it's new, I challenge you to say it's new to you, because it's not new. You can say it's new to me. And then for the people who, I think their good intentions are to assist. But as with all good intentions, we are blinded by our own privileges. In any situation. And so you do things out of that privilege without knowing or understanding that privilege. And I think what's happening is that, there was a woman at one of the protests that I've been to who said, these are the things that we need to do. And I did this because I believe Black Lives Matter. I did this for you. These are all the things that I did. And, like, she's giving this speech that she feels is like this great, empowering speech. And I was like, so are you saying we should be grateful? Are you saying, like, you deserve a pat on the back because you didn't do this for you, you did this for us? Like what is it that you're saying? Right? Because when you say I did this for you, then that implies that you're not a part of us. Right? That implies that, like, I already have the rights that I want. I'm just trying to help you people below me. So what are you saying? So is equality not really for us? What are you asking for? Like, words mean things. And so right now there's a lot of what I feel like is the white savior thing in certain points where they don't realize it. And there's a lot of people coming in and trying to take over as if people who have been doing this don't understand how the system works, right? We understand how the system works. You know, our parents and our parents' parents have been working within the system for years. You've been benefiting from the system for years. So we understand what it looks like on this side. Just join us, but you don't have to take the lead. And if you want to organize something, that's fine, but also be very careful in how you do that. Because I think in those places, if you choose to organize it, then still giving that platform to the people who are oppressed is still a thing that needs to happen. If you organize something and you speak on behalf of the oppressed, what are you doing to alleviate oppression? Nothing. You're speaking for them. They can still not speak. What's the point? So yeah, I have many feelings. I'm sure I have more, but I am appreciative to people showing up. I am appreciative that people are recognizing that this needs to happen. But some people need to check themselves a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, and it goes without saying that, I don't know, every single point, like the first thing, anyone that's not a part of the oppressed group, in my opinion, speaking as Latino, you listen.
Yeah.
First thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's hard. It's uncomfortable. It's very uncomfortable. Moments of silence are hard. Moments of anger are hard. Moments of sadness are hard. The only thing that seems to be really easy for everybody is happiness. And honestly, that there's not a lot of that right now. So you just have to be used to being uncomfortable. And I say that to myself too, you know, not letting people slide on things. I think I try to be very vocal, even when a particular oppression doesn't affect me. And I had a conversation with a friend recently where, like, they know of my support of the LGBTQ community. They know of my involvement. They know what Echoes does. And, like, I'm really big about bringing awareness to all types of injustice. Even with them knowing that, they said something. And under normal circumstances, I think I just would have let it go. I just would have maybe said something very quickly and moved on. And I didn't. So I'm taking my own advice, and it's not easy, right? So I think it was one of those things where it was like, okay, like there's nobody else here but me and him, and neither one of us belong to that community. So somebody's got to stand up and say something, even though I know it's going to get some pushback, even though I could just make the little remark and we can move on. This is not the first time he's made a remark like this, and it won't be the last unless I say something. And so it's not easy, and all of us have some work to do, but you have to keep doing it. You just got to be used to being uncomfortable. This is just where we are. This is where we are, y'all.
It really is, like, but that's how you make some, like, educational strides, and that's how you start changing people's minds. Like, be uncomfortable, listen, and then more.
Yeah. And then the next time it won't be so uncomfortable. You know what I mean? The next time they'll either expect it, or you'll know what to expect of that moment. Because a lot of the time the discomfort comes from not knowing what to expect in that moment. And not knowing how you're going to react in that moment. I think a lot of times that's where that discomfort comes from. So the more you do it, the less uncomfortable you feel. Like, I think when I first started, I was very nervous about saying, like, white people this or that, because I hated the overall generalization. But, like, when you're talking about certain things like this, it's important to say white people. It's important to say Black people as opposed to people of color, unless you mean people of color. Like, it's important to say those things, and it takes a moment. It's like a social muscle that you have to keep working out. You know what I mean? Like, it's not going to get strong until you keep using it. So, yeah, get used to being uncomfortable. Because the thing is we've been comfortable for too long, right? We've been comfortable. And for too long, when you have people saying negative things about Mexicans or people who are undocumented, we've been so comfortable so long that it allows for someone to say the things that they say. We've been so comfortable for so long with talking about the gay choir director at church and like saying it undercover that like when you say it out loud, it allows for people to make the little comments that they say that are these microaggressions toward people that are oppressed. Like we've been so comfortable for so long. So like that's not serving us. Mm. It's no longer serving us. It was never serving us, arguably, but it's not serving us. So
that's a good segue to go into our last question. Sure. Speaking of being uncomfortable and all those microaggressions that come out in super small moments, tell us a story about when you first discovered white people treated you lesser than, or did you always know?
No, I didn't. I have a couple of stories because I think it was when you're a child, like anytime you learn things by repetition, right? That's why we have practice. And a good friend of mine said they've been practicing racism for so long, it's perfect. And so I listen to that and I hear that statement and I'm like, yeah, because by the time I got to high school, it was just like a given, right? So, and there were times that I knew I was different, not just by white people, right? So, I think the first memory I have is talking about my friend at school and my grandmother asking if, like, what color she was, and me being apparently colorblind. I was like, she's peach like me. I was peach. I've never been peach, just in case you're wondering. But yeah, so like in my head though, like I had no concept of like, what do you mean? You know, like I didn't say white, you know what I mean? So like I had no concept of what that meant. So I think that was the first time I realized I was different. From that moment, I did notice that my skin was darker. There was a time we were 9, I'd say 8 or 9. We were going to Texarkana to see Mother, my great-grandmother. And we would always take these trips to go to Texarkana to see her. And as a family, we had stopped at a gas station. Daddy had gone in to pay for the gas. And me and my older sister had gone in. And she's only like 10 months older than I am. So we had gone in to get candy. And we were so excited about candy because we're 9 and 10. Right. So we, or 8 and 10, 8 and 9, something like that. So we had showed the guy our candy and then we ran out of the store while Daddy was still paying for it. And as soon as we got to the car, my stepmother was already getting out of the car and she like jacked both of us like by the arm and we had no idea why we were in trouble. And my daddy kind of came out not too long afterwards and both of them were like, don't you ever run from the store like that again. They will think you stole something. You walk out of the store. You do not run. I don't care how happy you are. Like it was just a moment where it was like childhood happiness that I got my favorite candy. And it turned into this weird, like, I'm in trouble for being happy. I think that was the first moment that I realized like, oh, like all these other kids get to just run out and be happy that they got, you know, a slushie or, you know, something else. I don't get to do that. That's not something I get to experience, that joy. I have to essentially hide my joy and my excitement because it can be seen as something else. So those are some of the first moments when I was younger. I saw something on Facebook the other day that I was like, yes, that is actually another moment, where it said, some of y'all's Black friends had their first racist experience when you told them they don't act Black. And I thought, yeah, that hit too, because in elementary, the way I speak, people are like, oh, you don't sound Black though, or being told I don't sound Black on the phone on a regular basis. Those are some of the first moments, and those are the moments that kind of lay seeds in me, the moments where I don't feel Black enough because I've been told by Black and white people I don't sound Black enough. I am different because I grew up in a suburb But I'm also different in that suburb because I don't look like the people in that suburb. Like there are lots of moments, and I am sure I'm not the only Black person. Actually, I'm positive of it. I can name like 12 people off the top of my head that have very similar experiences. So those are the moments I think that I have been shown. Specifically moments where I was lesser than, like I'm sure you know this, the word articulate is like a dog whistle, right? Where it's one of those cute little SAT words that you learn and you're like, articulate is a great word. This person is articulate, but it's usually used to tell Black people specifically, but like I'm sure other people as well, other minority or people as well, that they're surprised by their ability to form sentences that make sense, like complete sentences that make sense. But that happened, I think, in a mall. This lady was like, "Gosh, you're so articulate. What college are you going to?" And I was like, "I don't know what articulate is." And my mom was like, "She's 9." Like she's 9, so she doesn't know what you're saying. She doesn't know the word articulate yet, but thank you. Like, or working at a store, which I'm sure it's a mix of the fact that I was Black. Well, it's very obvious when I tell you the story that it was because I was Black. But also because I was a female. I worked in a car business for 7 or 8 years at this company, and I was a manager of a store, and it was at a Lexus dealership. So of course, a lot of people with money as well. And so I ran that store for about 3 or 4 years. And the lady comes in, and she's an older lady, and we were in the midst of construction. And she was like, you guys are doing such a great job, and under all these different, like you've got construction everywhere, and you guys still have smiles on your face. Who's your manager? I'd really like to commend you to your manager. And I was like, well, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. We work very hard. I am the manager, but I appreciate your kind words. And her response was, oh, I didn't know they had Negro managers. And I was like, yes, ma'am, they do. Like, I was like, what do I say to that? Like, I don't. And those are the moments where you're like, it's supposed to be a compliment, but is it? Like, it's not a compliment. So yeah, those are some of the moments, the assumptions that like, if I work hard and apply myself, I think a lady at a gas station saw like a tassel from my car. And she was like, if you work hard, she was like, I heard you talking, you're so articulate. If you work hard and apply yourself, you'll be able to go to college too. And I was like, that's my college tassel. It's not my high school tassel. That's my college tassel. I just graduated last week. Like, thanks, ma'am.
Thanks, ma'am. Oh my gosh.
So yeah, like those are some of the best stories, I guess. But I mean, I think that there are best stories, right? But I think that there are a lot of stories that anybody can tell you that happened. So I think fighting against those things that I was taught is also a part of a revolution. Like fighting against the being told that you don't sound Black. No, I do sound Black because I am Black. So this is what some Black sounds like. Some Black sounds other ways too, but this is Black still. So, fighting against those things and unlearning those things is also part of the revolution.
I would love to be able to turn that around and say like, yeah, I didn't think you would sound white. Yeah. What does white sound like?
That would be great. Like, oh yeah, you do. You also sound white. Like, goodness, how did that happen? Like, tell me about yourself.
I'm so surprised by it too, because I was totally expecting something else. You enunciate everything so well.
So well. It's so clearly done. Yeah. That would be great, actually. I wish I could go back in time and actually do that. There's always the future. There's always tomorrow.
Oh my gosh. Well, Janelle, thank you so much. Is there anything else you would like to add or tell people right now? Or
no, thank you. I mean, just keep working. It's tiring. But I think the good thing about having so many people that are, even if they are new to the fight, the good thing about having that is like your youth in the fight means you have energy. You just have to be focused. You know what I mean? So for those of us who have been fighting for a while, for those of us who've been fighting even longer than those of us who have been fighting for a while, you know what I mean? The energy levels are waning. And so really the best thing is to come into any organization. And I mean, I say this as a Black person who hasn't been to this organization's event, right? The best thing to do is always walk in humbly and then like kind of be assigned your task. You don't have to have the reins. And eventually, if you are needed to lead, you will be called upon to lead. But the good thing is that the more people that we have, the more energy that we have, which allows some of us to take breaks. We can tap in and tap out. We can rotate because there's so many things that are needed. You need people to have like hand out water. You need people for you. I mean, like you in any race, you need rest stations. In you know what I mean. In any long distance, anything, you need rest stations to be able to kind of gather yourself. So, for those people who are new, welcome. It's not easy. Some days will suck. But together, I think we'll be able to help sustain each other. So I'm ready when everybody else is.
When the white people are ready.
Hey,
when the Latinos are ready.
Right, listen. Because the more of us, you know, we're going to be there to fight for everybody else too. And I think I've seen that a lot with. Honestly, I have seen that a lot with different groups as well. Asians for Black Lives Matter and Latinos for Black Lives Matter. I had a class, I think I had posted on Facebook the other day, I had a class because I still teach a lot of my classes in Colombia, where my students are from. So like my student who is watching the US from Colombia is looking at it and he's like, so like, I know, because I'm Black all the time. So he knows how I feel about a lot of these things. And he was like, so I know a little bit, but like I'm seeing things on TV and this didn't make sense and I didn't understand this. So I looked this up and let me tell you what I found. And last class that we talked, we were supposed to be talking about his presentation that he gave, and I was supposed to be giving him grammar points. And he was like, no, but let me tell you about this article I read about this person. And like, do you have experience with this person? And I was like, yes, I do. Like actually seeing people do their own homework and then coming to me just to like compliment the work that they have done so that they have their own understanding of how things work is very encouraging. And also that same student he sent me a message on WhatsApp about him teaching his friends in Colombia what was happening in the US and why it was important. And there are people in Colombia right now who are marching for George Floyd. You know what I mean? So like that awakening doesn't happen just with white and Black people. It happens with people who are watching us all over the world. And so, yeah, like Mom likes to say a lot, there are more of us. There are more of us if everybody's just got to wake up a little bit. And yeah, I am encouraged, which is better than I felt, I'd say like on Monday of this week. I was in a very not good place. So I'm starting this week off encouraged by all of that. So that's a good thing.
Well, on that note, I will send us off right now and end this recording.